wasn't easy. That was unbelievably sweaty, and I can't believe that my heart is palpitating on April 2nd from a series in Miami. But folks, that means Mets baseball is officially back. How's it going, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we have a jam-packed Mets post-game coverage to get into as the Amazons take down the Miami Marlins in what was as roller coaster of a fashion as they come. And no, Six Flags hasn't opened yet beyond just the weekends. It's insane, everybody. We're going to break down to a T what transpired inning by inning, headlined by the polar bear himself and Peter Mother effing Alonso doing the thing again, tearing the cover off the ball left and right. So much to break down in what was a whirlwind of a series victory, the first series win for the Amazons this season, everybody. How you doing, folks? My name is Tyler Ward, better known as Wardy here on YouTube, to over 30,000 subscribers, covering the Mets every single night, and we have a massive post-game show to get into right here, right now, along with interacting with each and every one of you guys in the live chat and our replay viewers. Let me see those initial reactions in the comments down below. Spam those W's in the chat, everybody. I want to see it. Spam them right now. What an absolute whirlwind of a ball game. I am amped up, and I have to attend a movie in less than an hour, so folks, we don't got a lot of time to work with. Let's let it rip with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. How's it going, everybody? How we feeling? Did you lose some years off your life today, huh? Was that as sweaty as ever? Talk about bad fundamental baseball. Keith Hernandez wanted to spit all over this game, and he even said it himself later on. Piss poor hitting. It was piss poor hitting. It was horrendous defense in a lot of ways. We're going to get into the large early struggles for Mark Vientos in this one. Tyrone Taylor completely missed a ball earlier, which did not help the likes of Clay Holmes among others. A lot of frustration in this ball game, but in a game which what feels like a year ago this time last year, the Mets lose with ease. No, they never said die. They didn't hear no bell, baby. They kept chugging and they kept rolling, and polar bear Pete Alonso quite literally did everything to put this Mets team on his back. Let's get a quick roll call to everyone first chopping in live here. I got Sean, great member. Caleb, how you doing? Vinny, Jason, Great Power, Certified Random, Will, Ain't Nobody Seen Nobody, Nick P, Oliver Gutierrez, Andres, Master Deeble, Xavier, Dave, Shreks, Jay, all amazing members here in the chat right now. Jason, going up the list here. Big Frank, Sean Don, White Mike 2023, B Devil going up here. Malone, how are you? Murdoch, Margaret, how are you? Thank you so much. Sean Daniels, D-Mac, my great member. Steve Lon, my man, great member in here. A Flo, how you doing? Sean going up the list. Alex, everybody, and your mother, thank you so much. Come one, come all. Folks, what a sweaty one. I can't get over that ball game. That was absolutely ridiculous. A tale of two sides in this matchup because, look, listen, I was fully prepared and fully ready to be ranting to each and every one of you tonight on how the Mets dropped a second consecutive series. And no, I'm trying my absolute best not to be overly reactionary to when things are doom and gloom in Mets land in the first half, because if we have learned anything from a year ago, it's to not buy in as if even 11 games below 500 is the end-all be-all. That's not true, but I also did not want to see this Mets team go into Miami, lose 2 out of 3 with some lifeless at-bats, some terrible fundamental baseball, and the boys just like that are multiple games below 500. Instead, now we're right around 500 or so as we head in that series beginning this Friday at home finally against the Toronto Blue Jays. Guys, I am amped in this one. You want to talk about standouts? We have all game, all post game to get into the greatness that was the polar bear and Pete Alonso, but Louis Torrens, When in doubt, Luis Torrens is there. The guy didn't even start tonight's game. Hayden Senger got the start, his first start of the year, had his first career hit, an opposite field double. Congratulations to Senger and his family. So he had that nice feel-good moment. We bring Torrens in, pinch hit God opposite field, drilling out guys at second, making the tags at home, even when Brett the Met Beatty is throwing behind him on the other side. Luis Torrens, what an absolute gorgeous series. What a great start to the season. He has been our unsung hero, not named guys like Pete Alonso that we're going to get into right here, right now. Let's rapid fire break down this ball game, baby. Let's have a fun time doing it. It starts in the first that we saw. Lindor strikes out terribly to begin. Soto rips a single because of course he does. Alonso right away with an RBI double, folks, but it's not just the fact that it was an RBI double. It's the fact in how he did it. He goes oppo with this one and the polar bear. And what have I preached to you guys? What have I told you time and time again here on the platform, going back over the past year and a half plus? If Alonso can get back to spreading for all fields, we have the best polar bear that we have seen since 2022. And folks, I'm telling you right now, we are getting clear signs with how he's grinding out at bats, how he's tearing the cover off the baseball. He hit 4 baseballs today. 3 of them counted. 3 of them were 113 miles per hour or higher. The only one that he didn't hit to actually get on base, it was 107 miles per hour. Alonso looked like an absolute man possessed in all the right ways possible in this matchup, in this series. Steve, thank you kindly for the $5 donation. He says Pete is back, doesn't chase low and outside, isn't pressured by the contract that Soto has in front of him, and Danny Young sucks. All things are 100% true. And yes, I want Danny Young out of this bullpen already just as much as the next guy. This is why I was preaching for Hernandez Cabrera to be the better lefty all spring. Sadly, he didn't best the two in that battle. Danilo Nunez cannot return soon enough for this Mets bullpen. Billy Dottie with the $2 donation. Thank you so much. He says, told you we will win tonight. Pete and Torrens. Absolutely, Billy. You're 100% right. And you were at the game. Shout out to Billy Dottie. Every game this man attends leads to success. You'll love to see it, Billy. Thank you so much for the donation. Dave Kaplitz with the $5 holla says, our great friend on the platform, I was ready to go off on the Mets, but Alonso saved us. Beatty has got to go. We'll talk about Brett Beatty and what is not working for him. We'll talk about Vientos, what is not working for him. Because for the Mets, after that Alonso RBI double, opposite field, mind you, that gave them the early 1-0 lead, we would see in the bottom of the first for Clay Holmes towing the rubber for the second time this season. He gives up a 1-out walk that we see there to Stowers. Afterwards, we would see Mervis with a single and Lopez grounds out. In the second inning, Vientos, Beatty, Taylor go down 1-2-3 with some lackadaisical at bats. Hicks for Miami records his first career hit ever, gets on with a single, and then Sanoja we see gets strikes out, thankfully, to end the inning. Before we get to the third, let's get to this donation from AZ in the chat right now, which states with the $20 holla. Let's get some hype in the chat for AZ in here. Thank you so much for that, my man. He says, just when the Mets make me wanting to change the channel, they keep pulling me back in. Everyone cue Al Pacino, everybody. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That is Mets baseball every time and time again. Polar Bear Pete with a dead center bomb. Luis Torrens is a grown man. I'm heading to Citi Field for opening day. Mets win LFG. Hype me up, baby. You love to see it. Hope you have a blast at home opener, I should say, rather, this Friday against the Blue Jays. I sadly won't be there. The first game I'll be attending is the series finale against the Marlins April 9th, that day game. So I hope to see you guys there for that. But I hope everyone has a blast this weekend. I hope everyone rides high off of this big series victory. And as we got to the third inning, Hayden Senger, we would see Lindor and Soto, all 1, 2, 3 in order, go down. Then in the bottom of the third, Edwards gets on with an infield single after review. Then we would see Stowers gets on with a walk, Conine with a single, so it's bases loaded, no out for Clay Holmes. What does he do? Unfortunately, this went in direct hand with Tyrone Taylor, where he should have had the easy out in the outfield, but he completely misread the ball and made me miss Jose Siri that much more. It allows bases loaded, no out for Mervis, who rips an RBI sac fly to tie it, and then Lopez, fielder's choice, gets on and it gives them the 2-1 lead because Mark Vientos tries to make the throw to home run. Mind you, he had all the space in the world to make it happen. He was so close to home. Clear time as day, and he just completely whaled it. Sadly, Vientos was not able to get that throw, and just like that, the Mets are down 2-1 as we head to the fourth. We see some donations, so let me get to those real quick, everybody. Anthony Viola with the $5 holla says, What a great game. I was here to witness it. Mets fans were hyped. Anthony, so glad you were there in attendance, my man. Thank you kindly for going out of your way to send a donation as you're exiting the ballpark right now. That means a lot. Wrestling, our great member on the platform, states with a $5 holla. Pete back to hitting those line drive nukes. Big year for Pete this year, bro. You feel it coming. Hey, this is exactly a continuation of Alonso stepping up in the postseason last year. I got chills with that dead center home run later in this ball game, just like I did from the wild card with Devin Williams, because you were hoping it was happening. It was a grinded out at bat, beautiful 9-pitch at bat, and I won't spoil too much more because we got more to get into in a second. Peter Terrenz, a Met for life. Who says no, baby? Thank you kindly for that donation. Come one, come all. We're breaking down the latest in Mets land as they take down Miami and win a massive series here in Miami against those fish. But the Mets will be down 2-1 as we head to the fourth, and in the fourth, Alonso rips his second double of the game, a 114 scorcher to left that we would see. Nimmo would a fly out, and sadly Winker would strike out looking to not end it, because we would see Vientos actually strike out thereafter on a bad at bat, and that does it. Wagaman would have pop out in that inning, and then that's all she wrote. Thankfully, it would be a clean inning for Clay Holmes where he doesn't give up any runs. Then as we get to the fifth, Clay Holmes does get in a little bit of a jam, and with 4.2 innings, Clay Holmes exits tonight's game. Reed Guerra comes in to get the final out, and thankfully he's able to do exactly that, folks. But let's just brief for a second and take a look at how Clay Holmes performed in this matchup. He gives the Mets his second consecutive start with 4.2 innings, but this time 2 walks, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, 6 hits, and let's see, a 2.89 ERA. And yes, it is technically only 1 earned run. It was 2 runs, but only 1 earned on Clay because of the bad defense from guys like Mark Vientos. By all accounts, I thought Holmes was fine today. Obviously, he still has more working to do as a starter, and we're looking forward to getting more length out of him. But what we got from Holmes' arsenal today was the entire, oh my goodness gracious, 6-pitch mix, folks. Sinker, 25% of the arsenal, had a 36% whiff rate against right-handers, but a 19% whiff rate against lefties. Topped out 96, sat 94. The changeup, 24% of the arsenal, topped out 89, sat 88. The cutter, 21% of the arsenal, topped out 93, sat 91 to 92. The sweeper, 14% of the arsenal, topped out 83, sat right around 81 to 82. And the slider, which is different from the sweeper has usually more horizontal break, a little bit slower. The normal slider is a harder slider, and it obviously is going to be faster. Topping out 87, sitting right around 86. And the four-seam fastball that he only threw 4 times, which I love because he's got a meatball for a heater in Clay Holmes. He topped out 94.5 and sat right around 94. Clay Holmes, folks, I would love to hear from you guys, everybody, on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you grade Clay Holmes' outing today? I'm going to give Clay a solid 5.5 out of 10. I would have given him more if he was able to give us length. I might even be willing to go 6 just because he only allowed 1 earned run in basically 5 innings. But because he couldn't get that final out, whether you blame Mendoza or whether you blame Holmes because you didn't feel comfortable with him in that situation, either way, Clay definitely took steps in the right direction today. I like the fact that he didn't walk the entire ballpark. I would just like to see this man give us a 6-inning outing, and then I can feel better about him, in which I really do believe Clay Holmes will be a all-star caliber pitcher for the Mets this year. It might not be right away, but I firmly do believe that we'll get there, and this is a start in the right direction. Just have to get more length. Nice swing and miss. At 2.89 ERA throughout his first 2 starts is nothing to scoff about, and what is a total of 8.4 innings. Let's see here, or not 8.4. What am I thinking? Is it 8.4? Yeah, I think it's at least 8 innings. I know that for sure. James with a $2 holla says, "Let's go Mets, baby." Thank you so much for the donation, James Phillips. I know you've been a longtime follower and supporter here. We got D-Mac, Eric Douglas, great members in the chat. Sharon, great member as well. We appreciate you. Pat W with a $5 holla states, "Break out the Anacids, early season Mets baseball. Alonso, Luis, Torpedo, Terrenz, big thumbs up. Bullpen decent LGM. Absolutely, baby. Outside of Danny Young just being, again, a guy that should not be in this bullpen, I'm pretty happy with the bullpen. I'm pretty happy with the pitching overall. What I wasn't happy with throughout the large contingent of this ball game was twofold. It was one, the bats not knowing what the hell to do if you're not named Pete Alonso. And secondly, when you also look at the fundies, I mean, it wasn't just Mark Vientos. It felt like everybody just forgot how to play defense in this series. Yesterday, Lindor single-handedly costed us the game with 2 costly errors. Context, Miami outscored the Mets yesterday when they only had 3 hits. It was brutal, and they won. I already forgot what yesterday's score was, but regardless, not ideal. Dominic, my great member, how are you? Thank you so much for chiming in, folks. Let's get back into breaking this down, because as Holmes exited the game that we saw in the 5th, Reed Guerra comes in and he gets the final punchy. As we advance to the 6th inning, Soto is robbed of what should have been a single, but a great defensive play there by second base, gets the toss to first in time, and Alonso with a sharp line out after what was another quality at bat. This one, again, sharp line out, 107 miles per hour, if I'm not mistaken, from Alonso there. Then we see in the bottom of the 6th, Edwards reaches as Garrett misses the comebacker catch, sadly. That was after there was already on, but thankfully, Reed Garrett is able to work out of his own mess, and thankfully, we get 1.1 scoreless innings from Reed Garrett today. And when we look at Reed as well, he did allow 2 hits, no walks, no strikeouts on 14 pitches. We take that. Again, doesn't need to be the sexiest thing. We just need you to go out there and do your job, right? And in the 7th, we would see Jesse Winker then get on with a walk. Vientos strikes out in what was a brutal at-bat, and I will talk about all the pros and cons with Vientos, because no, I'm not jumping down his throat the way that I feel like other fans are, thinking that Buddy's already cooked, he can't play defense, he can't do this, he can't do that. We know the defensive miscues are naturally going to come time to time with Vientos, but I also know that he clearly looked like he was in his head this entire series. From his overreaction after not getting a key hit with runners in scoring position yesterday for the Mets, as he went to the dugout, to then saying pregame today how he'll never do that again, then to botch the throw terribly heading to home, then later on in the game we'll get into how he should have made a throw to home, instead throws to first, which allows another run to score. Vientos had a series from hell, and I don't know if it's one of those things that has to do with the fact that he's kind of in his hometown. Again, a Florida native. I'm sure his entire family was there. I know Charles's dad, who I built a relationship with. Shout out to the entire Vientos family. They know who they are. We appreciate them, and I'll be talking to them soon because I have a gift for them, for those that don't know, and I'll expand on that on another time. But Vientos is one of these guys where heading into the season, we knew that the BABIP had a lot of things in his favor. What that means is that Vientos was actually one of the luckiest hitters in baseball last year. We also know that defensively, he had a lot of miscues, but he made up for it with his offensive upside. If Vientos isn't hitting, you're going to see the defense get further exposed, and that's what we saw on the forefront in this series against Miami. Am I concerned about it? No. Do I think you should be concerned about it? No. Do I feel it's a good thing that they have started the way that they have offensively? No, of course not. And that could be, again, a greater issue that we may have for the entire month of April, because the Mets and hitting, especially at Citi Field and what's usually cold and frigid weather, like what you guys are going to get this weekend, wouldn't shock me in the slightest if the Mets don't hit too much of a lick against Toronto, just based on the weather conditions and the status of the season that we're in. But I hope I'm wrong, because listen, I said on X earlier, it is inexcusable if this Mets team cannot go out and win this series in Miami. They should never drop a series to Miami all year long. It is inexcusable to even think of the idea otherwise. Greg says, Terrence, hopefully a new normal. You said it, baby. Thank you for the donation. Eddie C with the $5 haul says, LGM coming home at 500. Got to take advantage of the favorable schedule. 1,000%. You got the Blue Jays, even with their solid start, and then you have the Miami Marlins again after, back-to-back at home. You better win both these series. I don't care that it's April. These are always going to matter, and you have to take advantage when the opportunities are smack dab right in front of your face, the way that we now see it heading into this homestand. But before we get to the homestand, let's break down more in the 7th inning, because we would see Vientos strike out, mind you, in the 7th when it was 6 straight balls out of the zone, and he still bit enough in the slider to strike out swinging. Beatty then with a horrendous double play to end the game. It's a 3-3-6, all handled by the first baseman there. Back to second, back to first, or something along those lines. It was just not good. I love Beatty, and I really am pulling for him, but he sadly has been more as advertised with his lack of confidence and really looking like he's lacking the comfortability offensively at the minimum at the MLB level right now. In the bottom of the 7th, A.J. Minter comes in for the Mets, and we would see right away, he gives up a first pitch double to Conine, and then he stumbles on the mound at what they called, unfortunately, a balk, allowing the runner to get to third with less than 2 outs. AJ made the argument that he threw the baseball, which means that it should just be a ball, and it's a dead play, and that's that. But I see where the ump came from, considering that Minter released the baseball almost when he was completely on the ground already. Like, it felt like the equivalent of when you're just trying to avoid intentional grounding, so you as a quarterback are chucking it last second to the right side because you see a receiver all the way over there, even though you know you're air-mailing it right into the sidelines. That was the kind of vibe I was getting from AJ Minter there. Regardless, though, as that transpired, we would see after just more terrible funnies by the Mets in this half inning. It was horrendous, because after we would see that happen, we would see Vientos then allows a run to score because he thought the ball was initially foul. It was fair on his side, and then he throws it after a delay to first base, and he almost completely mails it past Alonso. So again, Vientos was just not in his groove whatsoever today, and nor was AJ Minter throwing his best stuff. But thankfully, in the end, it didn't matter, because that wasn't even the worst part defensively in this inning, everybody. More bad funnies came, because after Vientos couldn't make that play, which made it 3-1, we would see Alonso make a fantastic diving stop, doing it all himself there at first base to get the key out. And then Soto drops the ball. Soto gives the Yankees and their fans something to cheer about for at least the next 24 to 48 hours, as he can't handle a routine play in right field, and that made it 4-1 Miami Marlins, which leads us to the 8th inning, everybody. Everything was setting the stage for the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso. Torrens with an opposite field pinch hit single. Why? Because he's a dog. That's why. Lindor finally, with a quality at-bat, rips one past the first base side, and Soto gets on with a fielder's choice that we would see. Torrens is out at home, unfortunately, but it sets the stage for the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso. And you want to know what Pete Alonso does, guys? He gets all of that baseball. Our key standout, our Wardy star of the game is, without question, the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso. It's one thing to rip scorching doubles, one opposite field, one to left, but to rip a dead center bomb and a 9-pitch at bat, backs against the wall, you're thinking you're going to drop this series in Miami, and no, it is the Polar Bear himself and Pete Alonso that gets the job done. What a game for Pete. What a quality at bat for Alonso. You roar it out, baby. You let him know who top dog is. It's a 3-for-4 day with a home run, a pair of doubles, 4 RBI stakes, and a walk. Oh, baby, sign me the hell up for more of that. Alonso's not only locked in, but he's looking so much more like 2022. Pete, I can't emphasize this enough. This is night and day. From any point, I felt like what we saw in the regular season last year. Even when Pete got in his grooves, he never looked like he had as quality of a game as he did today. Can someone please find one single regular season game last year that trumps what we got today? And the exit velos, the quality of at-bat, and the selective hitting. Everything about Alonso's approach was as pitcher perfect as one could hope for today. And even with this one line out, it was absolutely roped that we saw to left. The guy's a dog. He's hitting for all fields right now. We're getting the best season from Pete Alonso since 2022. Book it. It's already happening. And folks, lock in, because we're just getting started. Hype me up, baby. We got the Polar Bear back, locked in, and then some, because that would tie the ball game with a dead central bomb there that we would see 4-4 in the 8th. You'll love to see it. We then advance to the bottom of the 3rd, bottom of the 8th, I should see. Edwards gets on with his 3rd infield single of the day, and here I thought John Birdie not being on Miami anymore would mean that we wouldn't have to deal with pests just getting on with infield singles left, right, and center, especially when you have a third baseman that just doesn't have the confidence you're hoping for in this series. And Edwards was exactly that. Vientos can't make the play in time. He's a speed demon down first, and there's already one on. A wild pitch by Edwin Diaz there then allows the runner to get in scoring position right away, which is very frustrating. And then what feels like the sky's falling right away, the Mets just tied the ball game 4-4. You bring in Edwin Diaz because you knew he was pitching in this game regardless of the status of the game. He just needed to get an inning in. And Edwin gets a key ground ball. Brett Beatty makes the throw back to home to get the out home, and Torrens, all thanks to Louis Torrens, we watched the replay, the Mets challenge, and they win it. You'd think we're back to the Buck Showalter Mets with the Mets actually winning these challenges. Good, the way that they started the season on. That was massive, and huge shout out to Louis Torrens, because that had little to do with Brett Beatty outside of just getting it there to home, which I'm happy he didn't airmail it, because let's be honest, if that was Vientos or someone else, maybe he does airmail that, right? But in the case of Beatty, he gets a throw. The only unfortunate thing is that it was on the opposite side of where Torrens needed to do the tag. It was on his right side, so he had to go complete cross-body over to get the tag, and thankfully, after review, the hand was up by the batter there, the runner for the Marlins. There was a tag right on, you saw his wrist area, and they overturned it. Obviously, Miami was pissed. This was a call that I feel like the Mets didn't get last year, but they got this year, thankfully, and that would be pivotal because that would lead to the Mets ultimately winning this ball game. So after they win that challenge, Louis Torrens continues his hot streak on the defensive end, as you see with the highlights beside me right now, drilling out the runner there, Brett Beatty with the tag, and the boys head to the 9th inning. In the ninth, the Mets go down in order offensively. Defensively, Jose Butto works a 1-2-3, which leads us to the 10th. You got an extra runner there at second. Who's running? No, we're not running Brett Beatty. We're going with Speed Demon Luis Angel Acuna, which I'm saying yes, yes, yes. This is what you use Acuna for if he's not starting, 1,000%. Tyrone Taylor with a bloop opposite field single. You're feeling good. Runners out the corners. There's no outs. Surely the Mets are going to drive in a run, and they do anything but. Even with Lindor and Soto getting to the plate in that same 10th inning, neither of the two were able to drive in the Mets' winning run. So we then head to the bottom of the 10th. Still tied, that we see 4-4 at the time. A bunt moves the runner to third base. Lindor thankfully makes a huge out at home, a huge relay throw that if it wasn't for that, the Marlins would have won it right away. And then thankfully we get out of that jam unscathed, which would be massive that we would see in the 10th inning. Brilliant job for the most part that we saw by everyone that was taking part. Jose Butto worked another clean inning in the 10th. Great job by him. He allowed no hits, no earned runs, no walks, no nothing. 15 pitches across 2 innings for Jose Butto, which led to the debate. Should Butto come in for the next game? Should Butto come in for the next inning, rather? He's already went 2. Why not throw him out there in the 11th versus a soft-tossing Danny Young? That's batting practice to pretty much anyone that understands how to work the barrel of their baseball. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened when Danny Young came into play. But before we got to Danny Young, thankfully, the Mets did enough on the offensive end in the 11th, and that would be the big difference maker. But mind you, before we got to the 11th, right after the end of the 10th inning, we heard on the SNY broadcast, of course, Keith Hernandez was mic'd up, and of course, no one realized at first, and he said the following: piss poor offense. Just sign. I even heard Keith sign with some of the Marlins at bats before the game ended. He was so fed up and over this, just like each and everyone else, and I love him for that. If you guys haven't already as well, folks, please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button as your first chime in. It really does mean a lot as we break down every single Mets game throughout the course of the year, and we recap and break down key series victories like what we're doing right here, right now. No, I'm not going to be too long-winded. I will be getting out of here in the next 10 minutes or so, folks, because I got a movie to catch I'm already going to be late to, but that's okay, because the show goes on, baby, and we got more to break down and more to chop up right here, right now, because in the 11th, this is where the boys came to play. Alonso with a walk. Automatically, there's 2 on, no out. Nimmo with a huge single that makes the bases loaded, no outs for the Amazons. Jesse Winker with an RBI walk gives the Mets a 5-4 lead. Whatever it takes, baby, just get on base. Vientos, and what very well could have been a brutal double play to record the first 2 outs of the inning, is instead botched by Edwards, the same man that was screwing Vientos in this game, being a speed demon down the first baseline. Buddy forgot how to play defense too, and Vientos finally gets something positive on his side and what was otherwise going to be a really bad at-bat. And even with the slow Vientos, he was able to get to first in time. That was massive. That gives the Mets their continued 6-4 lead at that point. They wouldn't do anything else as Acuna would double play to end the inning. And then we would see everybody. Danny Young comes in. And what does Danny Young do? He's garbage. That's what he does. He allows guys to get on base right away. A run scores to make it a 1-run ball game. And then after Danny gets a key strikeout, he's exited for our guy in Huascar Brazo, who's given the Mets over 4 scoreless innings to begin the season. What did you do against his former team yet again that traded him at the deadline? He says, F you, Miami, I'm a New York Met now. And what does he do? He gets a massive punchy and what was a borderline strike call, but you can't be taking that when it's the final out of the ball game, baby. You can't do it. And the Mets go on and win this one by a final score of 6-5 in extras. Hype me up. What is the biggest standout for you guys from not only today's win, but the series victory as a whole? Because for me, it's a couple guys. Obviously, the most obvious one here is Luis Torrens. Outside of Torrens, it's going to be Pete Alonso. Outside of Pete Alonso, I have to think of just the bullpen continuing to be nails, not named Danny Young. What are you giving out a Danny Young jersey next week? Guys, we are closer to burning a Danny Young jersey on the platform than we are giving away one. Because there's not a chance in hell you're going to see me go out of my way to spend my hard-earned money on a Danny Young jersey just to give it away. If I'm going to do it, it has to be a flair for the dramatic. We're cooking that thing up. We're grilling it this summer, especially if he's still on the roster and cooking things in the bullpen. I don't want that. And I'm half joking as I say this because I'll never actually burn a player jersey. But that's all I'm saying. You will never see me have a Danny Young jersey in any form or fashion whatsoever. You will see pigs fly before I'm rocking a Danny Young jersey or doing anything with that garbage. No chance. Danny needs to go out and prove it to us that he is a formidable soft-tossing lefty option, because all I see right now is a guy that's destined to be sent down, DFA'd right away as soon as Danilo Nunez is ready to be called up for this Mets team from Syracuse. That is what I foresee to happen. I believe you guys find yourself in the same category, right? And as we look further in this matchup, as the Mets won in this one, we saw 6-5. They were actually out-hit by Miami in this game. The Mets really didn't deserve to win this game for certain parts, but Pete Alonso gave us all the reasons to be like, you know what, maybe we do deserve to win after all. Mets were out at 13-9, but they had some poor luck on their side. Not only did the Mets have bad defense, but Miami, for the most part, outside of Xavier Edwards, late in the game, had good defense. So much so that the Mets' expected batting average was 274 to Miami's 202. So Mets had some bad luck on their side in this one, but thankfully in the end they would prevail, and that would be huge. Danny Young equals Joey Wendell in the chat, says Carla Pants. He's in similar category as a guy that I've wanted off this roster for the most part for a hot minute, and I didn't even want to break out of camp even though it was going to happen. But guys, I see it in the comments right now. I see you guys freaking out left, right, and center. Let's talk about Mark Vientos. Let's talk about what is going wrong with our guy, Marky Mark. And Swaggy V, someone said Swaggy V, more like Swaggy E for error. I'm not going to lie, it was pretty funny. I did chuckle. It's all in good fun, obviously. And as one of the biggest Mark Vientos truthers this past year, I can tell you, I know he's going to be fine. I do not have a concern with Vientos at all. Anyone that is buying into overly concerned about at-bats at this point in the season, either A, doesn't actually watch the full 162 because you guys can't comprehend the ebbs and flows of a 162. You're the same fans that still believe that the season ended last year when we were 11 games below 500, and then you guys were nowhere to be seen when they actually got on the run. And if you were, then you're a fair weather fan because you jumped back on the bandwagon after saying that they were all the way out. The fact that we even had talking heads, I'm not going to say names, but they know who they were, who canceled the season last year when we were only in May, just tells you just how fair weather some fans out there are made out to be. And the case of what the Mets have been and what they will continue to be is as follows. We know the Mets usually have slow starts to the season. Every single year under Steve Cohen, especially, they have had piss poor starts to the year for the most part. A lackadaisical offense that does not hit well, especially at Citi Field, when it's frigid early April weather that fluctuates as all hell, windy as shit, it's raining, it's not ideal. And I understand the Yankees go through these hardships. Every other team that is dealing in the East Coast deals with the same weather issue, but it doesn't change the fact that this has been a commonality with the Mets. This is not here to make excuses. This is reality. The Mets have historically not played well for almost every single year, and my fandom over the past decade plus that we have seen them get off to a hot start in April. You want to know the last time I feel like the Mets got off to a hot start outside of their like 11-1 start in 2019 or 2018 with Todd Frazier, and then it completely fell apart because Todd Frazier was a part of that? Also thinking of the 2016 Mets when Neil Walker was absolutely it was 2016 or 2017 when Neil Walker hit like 6 home runs in the month of April. It was something absolutely absurd. Since then, it's been few and far in between on what the Mets actually do to begin the season. So that's what I'm telling you guys. I know Vientos has been unbelievably underwhelming. The defense has looked cooked. The offense hasn't been there. Lindor, in large part, same exact thing. Costed the Mets yesterday, got a big hit today, but his bat has not really been too consistent either. As we go through the entire Mets lineup, and we're going to circle back to Vientos, so just wait for a second, folks. Lindor, 100 batting average, 236 OPS. Juan Soto, 238 average, 836 OPS. The fact that Juan Soto is batting 238 is why you shouldn't give a rat's ass about how the year is starting offensively. It's going to change, I promise. Pete Alonso, 286 average, over 1,000 OPS. Nemo, 250 average, 780 OPS. Jesse Winker, 154 average, 467 OPS. Mark Vientos, a $180, not even a $183, just .083 and a 321 OPS. Brett Beatty, 071 with a 214 OPS. Luis Angel Acuna, 182 average with a 523 OPS. Tyrone Taylor, 143 with a 286 OPS. Hayden Senger, 333 thanks to that double and 1,000 OPS. Luis Torrens, 313 and 978 because he's a dog, but he's the anomaly in the group here. This is exactly my point, everybody. Is it fun to watch your favorite team play lackadaisical baseball at any point in the year? No. And am I condoning or giving excuses for Vientos' lackadaisical play, Lindor not stepping up and having another slow start, Beatty being non-existent and looking like, yet again, not an MLB caliber player for the most part? No, I'm not making excuses for anyone here. All I'm telling you is that as someone who is as reactionary as they come, who is ready to rant tonight, I'm here to tell you that there aren't enough reasons yet to go on a ranting spree. You can critique the guys all you want. You could be upset by the fact that Vientos isn't hitting, that Lindor isn't hitting for the most part, that the entire collective lineup hasn't stepped up the way that you'd hope. But when the Mets do get in their groove and get on a run, keep that same energy. You know what I mean? Like, we go through the ebbs and flows with this team every single year. Everything that we're going through right now isn't surprising. I understand in the case of Vientos, we have lofty expectations after what he did last year, but let's also not forget that one way or the other, Vientos still has pressure on his shoulders. He's trying to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, and for all we know, maybe he's getting his head a little bit. I think that goes without saying on how this Miami Marlins series has went. So expect the defense to get better, hopefully before it gets worse with Vientos. The bat will be there. He loves to thrive in the big moment. We've seen Mark thrive in the big moment, and the fact that we have some fair weather schmucks out there going out of the way to say that Vientos shouldn't even be on this roster after what he did not only all season long, which was one of our biggest focal points outside of Lindor and Iglesias last year, and then to see what he did in the postseason, you could critique his couple errors, but he hit home runs in those same games that he had the errors for the most part. The guy's a home run machine, he's a gap-to-gap machine, and he thrives in the pressure cooker situations down the stretch. That's a guy I want on my team, that's a guy I want a part of this core group, and I fully expect him to get in a groove sooner rather than later if it hasn't happened yet, and obviously, it certainly hasn't happened yet. So fans, before I get out of here, our recap. The Mets win this series a total of 2-1. We know that the Mets didn't have the sexiest series, but in their wins, thankfully the offense did prevail one way or another. A huge breakout in Game 1. The bats explode 10-4. 4 bombs that we saw, including guys like Luis Torrens, Brandon Nimmo, Starling Marte, and there's one other that I'm blanking on right now that hit a home run in that game as well, but very impressive accolades from everyone. Did Alonso have, I'm trying to think, did Alonso have the grand slam? I think Alonso had the grand slam in Game 1, right? Again, these things quickly come in and out of my head when I cover them every single night, so I'm just making sure that I have everything balanced, but I believe, right, we saw the grand salami, big 10-4 victory. Yesterday, the Mets couldn't get nearly enough done offensively. We know that. Defensively, needs some work there. That goes without saying. But guys, I'm feeling good. I'm very happy to say that the boys have a series victory, and now we can head into the series officially beginning Friday against the Blue Jays. And folks, we will probably have both pre- and post-game coverage for you. Saturday, there will be no pre-game coverage. There will only be post-game coverage, as I'll be reporting live from a hotel room that night. Sunday, we'll be back in our usual setup for the most part. But Friday, be on the lookout for post-game, pre-game. Tomorrow, we will actually have a video probably dropping earlier in the day on more things beyond just the Mets winning the series, other key takeaways along with maybe what things are going right, what things are going wrong, and what's happening with the roster as a whole, because there's a lot of things happening currently in the minor leagues as well as on the position player front, the roster construction front that is separate from the game and the series itself that I like to have separated. And if you guys did not check out our video that we dropped earlier today, please make sure you do so, as we broke down how Sandy Alcantara being traded to the Mets may actually happen this season. No, I'm not talking out of my ass. The Mets themselves and Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, and others are actively advocating for the pitcher to be traded to the Mets this year. Yes, that is true. I'm not lying. And I went in complete hand with a show I did in Bleacher Report today on potential in-season trades, and I actually broke down how Sandy to the Mets makes sense. And that was prior to that report even coming out earlier today, pregame, from Mike Puma of the New York Post. So it's like we had something in common with our way of thinking. But folks, check out all the content. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you again for the endless support. Love you all to death. And